Welcome to episode 8 of Conversations with Women Living Well After 50. Finding purpose in life can be a challenge, especially as we transition through life. And for many women, the empty nest, career changes and retirement can bring them to a point where they ask, why am I here and what is my purpose? So I'm delighted today to introduce my guest, Paterakis, the Midlife Counsellor, to discuss this topic and to also discuss the 5 benefits of reconnecting with your life purpose. Maria holds a graduate diploma in applied psychology. She's a wife, mother, and founder of 2 businesses. Maria's busy living her purpose and is excited to get up every day and live her life. She's a co-founder of The Creative Hub, an online marketing business, and the founder of the Midlife Counsellor. Born to Greek migrant parents and living in a multicultural society in Australia, Maria credits this upbringing to shaping her life and to the person that she is today. Despite the struggles and obstacles, she is grateful for these life experiences because they have helped her personal growth and resilience. Her business as the Midlife Counsellor is focused on Generation X, the midlifers. She's passionate about guiding her clients to build emotional endurance, discover a life that is full of purposeful endeavours, and establish a life system that protects and enhances their lives today and in preparation for tomorrow. So let's join the conversation. Welcome, Maria, and thank you so much for joining me in conversation today.
I am so happy to be here, let me tell you, Sue. I'm really excited about today's topic.
Yes, me too. Having a purpose is not just something to fill our time, is it? It's key to our mental and physical well-being. But many struggle with the concept of purpose, especially during different transitions in life. So I wondered if you could just define for us what life purpose actually means.
Yeah, and I've been talking to some of my clients about this recently, because one of them said to me, it was really interesting. You know, I've been looking at this for a long time and it just seems so overwhelming. It's got to be so big. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It can be so simple. It's that little thing that helps you to get up every day. It's that motivator. And I think the best one I've heard recently, just over the last few months, was Paul Mercurio. We all love Paul Mercurio.
Oh,
was
yes.
in Strictly Ballroom.
Yes.
Strictly Dancing. And he was on talking about his new movie with another one of Australia's sweethearts. Now I can't remember her name. It's gone. That's okay. I'll remember it later.
Yeah.
And he was saying, well, my purpose in life is just to tell a story. And it doesn't matter if I'm doing it in through dance or in the movie or writing something or making, because he's Italian, or making pasta sauce. I just tell my story, right?
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
Isn't that lovely? So it doesn't have to be big. The expression of your purpose may change, but the purpose stays the same.
Yeah. And I think you're right in saying it doesn't have to be big, but most of us think we have to go and change the world or make some sort of big statement, and that. But it's not that way. It's just the way we live our life. And as you say, something that motivates us to get out of bed every day and to just bring a little bit of meaning to our life. And I love that idea about telling our story, because we've all got a story to tell. And again, people sometimes think, oh, well, what do I have to offer? Everyone has something to offer. And
when you can find that little thread between everything you do. I was working with a client recently, and she discovered her thread between everything that she does is to help people believe they can. Yep. That's her thread. So that's her purpose.
Beautiful.
So it isn't a huge thing to say, I help people believe they can. Or I help people realize their potential. They're just a few little words. That one's mine. I love helping people realize their potential. And it doesn't matter if it's one person or 10 people or a community or, you know, whatever it might be. But that's the thing that drives me you're passionate about? What's your
Well,
purpose?
I'm like you. I'm passionate about encouraging women to over 50 in particular to embrace life. And if I can reach one person, that's why I've started these conversations, and I have my blog and everything along those lines, because if I can reach one woman and make a difference to her life and help her realize that she can do things and she's unique and special and wonderful, then that's my purpose. I was talking to a yogi last week, and she said that her purpose is dharma, or I think it's called dharma in yoga.
Yeah.
And she said hers is to serve people. And I think that's a lot of us. We want to help others, and to me, that's a wonderful purpose, I think.
But if you helped a 12-year-old do exactly the same thing, would you feel like you hadn't met your purpose because it wasn't a woman at
Oh,
50?
no. Perhaps I've
No. But that's really important, right? So the purpose is regardless your expression and who you choose to make your tribe to deliver that purpose, as you've decided on that, which is great. Which is the other element of it. See,
okay.
So yeah, so it's then it brings in your passions, it brings in things that you're talented with, and things that drive you personally, and it does change with different phases of your life. That's why when we have a transition, if we know our purpose, what might actually change is not the purpose, but the expression of the purpose.
Oh, well, that's a good point too. Yeah, because I suppose really I should be saying I'm passionate about helping others, embrace life and realize their potential. And that could be a 10-year-old or 12-year-old. I've just chosen to select a group as my tribe, as you call it, to deliver that service to. But there's obviously different layers to a purpose as well.
Absolutely. And it brings in your talents and your strengths and all sorts of things that your life experiences, your like we would have to say that sometimes traumas in our lives may also fire the expression of that purpose.
Right.
So you pick, I'm working with kids because I was an abused child, or I'm working with women because I know that I went through my trials through, menopause and all these other things, and I want to partake that information and provide that to women for that reason. For me, I'm working mainly with people in their 40s and 50s and their 60s as well, because I believe and very strongly that if we, as the generations that are aging, are future-proofing our lives, we're strong, we're in purpose, we're financial, we actually leave the world a better place for our children.
Yes. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. And that's what we want to do. But sometimes some of us just need some guidance with that, and that's where you come in.
Oh, thank God. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So it starts with you. I just one last thing on it. It starts with you, but for it to be a purpose, that it usually needs to be bigger than you. And so your bigger than you doesn't have to be Oprah-esque level of impact. It may be your immediate family, your children, your grandchildren, their friends, the people that you come in contact with daily, where you add value to the people around you. That is more than enough.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good definition of life purpose, because I think people get too caught up with perhaps even the terminology, and they're thinking, oh, I should be doing something that's going to change the world, and they don't realize they could be doing it just within their own little world. So that's really great. Now, you talk about 5 benefits of connecting your life purpose. One of those is resilience. So how do you connect the resilience to, it makes you more resilient, you suggest, in having a purpose?
Well, what I've found is that resilience in its current form, where a lot of people talk about resilience, is like, oh, you're optimistic, you're adaptable, you're this, you're that. The whole heap of traits around resilience.
Yeah.
Whereas I see purpose as part of the house of resilience. How you do resilience is through your purpose.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you are connected with your purpose, you always have something to get up for. So even when you get those little things in life that come along and they interrupt life, that doesn't matter because you've still got that focus. So when you're losing your focus, you're able to get it back because you know what your purpose is.
Right, yeah, and that gives you, because people will say, especially if they're going through a tough time, I think we're all stronger than what we think we are, but sometimes life just gets too hard. And I suppose the way you're looking at it is that having that purpose where you've got to get up and try to overcome things makes you stronger. It's building on your resilience to cope with life how it is at the moment, because you've got that purpose in your life. And sometimes I suppose we can lose sight of that, but yeah, I can understand how that does help build your strength.
Absolutely. And it is about the expression. Things happen in life where the way you expressed your purpose may not be exactly the right thing right now. Might need to pivot, you might need to change, you might need to think of different ways of expressing it, especially when your purpose is part of what you do, your career, your work, and so on. But that doesn't change your purpose. The purpose is constant throughout your life.
Yes. So you start with your purpose, and then that helps you find direction, so instead of saying I suppose you do have to address the question is, what is my purpose? Once you do define that, it can help you in so many other areas of your life.
Absolutely.
And as you say, it depends on what part of life you're in as to how you define the purpose. Like the core purpose will remain the same, but it's how you express it in the different areas of your life, whether it be during your career or then if you've retired, how do you transition into that retirement and still have your purpose that your core purpose in life.
Absolutely. And I would say to people out there, if you're in a job right now that you're not enjoying and you keep saying, oh, when I retire, I'll do that. We know that the world's changed a lot. Don't wait till you retire. Retirement might be a little bit further away for some of us than it was meant to. And the whole model of retirement, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit more later. The whole model of retirement is changing for many good reasons, not just because of the things that we're going through. So we've got to be open to the fact that we might have to work longer. And if we are working longer and you're in a job right now that you really, really don't like, imagine doing that for another 30 years. And how does...
Yeah, and I think that used to be the case in a few, a couple of generations ago. You had a job, you stayed in the same job for life, you didn't change companies, you just went to that job every day, and then when you retired, you might have got a gold watch, and that was it. But now there's so many opportunities for you to, for a lot of people, they've gone into one career and found that it isn't for them. There's many opportunities to be able to change direction these days, and I think that's a good thing as well. And you're right. I actually heard the other day that they're starting to refer to retirement, but not using that word, using it as transition, because it's another transition into a different lifestyle. And I think that you're right, especially in the world we're in at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen. So you need to embrace life and just make it the best you can now, rather than saying, oh, I'll wait till I retire, or I'll wait for this or that to happen, because they may not happen.
I mean, I'm one of those people who can't ever see herself retiring, and in the traditional sense of retirement. And I often see the over 50s living ads, and I kind of laugh to myself because I'm 3 years off 50, but I'll have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old when I am 50. So
Right.
it's a very different generation. I know people in their early 50s who've got not even teenagers yet. So there is a generational change happening, and I think that I would like no one to talk about anyone based on their age, but where are they at? What are their skills? What are their talents?
That's right.
What is their potential?
Yeah.
How can they contribute? We know we need diversity in the workforce for it to be really a powerful and productive workplace. So I don't know, let's just stay open.
Well, that's right. And I'm like that. I'll be 63 next month, but I don't actually think about it until my birthday comes around and I think, oh, I'm 63. I don't feel it. I don't connect to an age. I just connect to life and how, and I'm driven, and what keeps me going is working on projects like this, and my purpose is to keep going and helping others, and that's what works for me. And I think you're right that it is a generational thing as well. The next generation will still have children that are younger when they're in their 50s, and that helps to keep you young as well. So,
well, I'm going to talk about my father in a little while, and he's a perfect example.
Okay, all right. So we've talked about resilience and a little bit about focus and direction and expression. So you also talk about core values and how it's linked with your life purpose.
Can I just go back a little bit and just a little bit more about that? That we have talked about, and this is that those transition times in life.
Yes, sure.
And it's so important, because I think that's really the second point, that you get a lifetime of focus. So when you do go through those transitions, they don't feel as bumpy.
Yeah.
Right? They don't. It's just about how can I rethink how I do this.
Yeah.
How can I've suddenly lost my job. What's next? I know what my purpose is. So where does that go? So that's another factor. So it is something that supports you, and that then keeps supporting your resilience as well, because it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Core values, yes. Going to core values, and that's my dad. I'm going to give my dad as an example. So he's turning 90 early next year.
Wonderful.
And he had us later. I'm his oldest child at almost 48. And so he still gets up every morning. He heads to his garden at 5:30 in the morning in Darwin, hot weather, rain and come shine, and he tends to it. But he's always had a garden. He had that before. When he had a concreting business, he used to get up really early, tend the garden, head out to pour concrete, come home, tend the garden, and then come and join the family. It was always like that. So I went home not long ago to Darwin. I'm on the Gold Coast, and I thought, what is it about my dad? Like I really wanted to understand. And I realized that there was a virtuous circle between his core values and his life purpose. And they looped in absolute beautiful. I'd even go to the infinity symbol, just because the infinity symbol is just so beautiful, isn't it?
It
that
is.
Sideways.
Lovely.
And they flowed into each other. And his highest value has always been his family. And his passion, I realized, his purpose was to build. He loved to build things from scratch. He built our house from scratch. He built the garden from scratch. He spent his life doing the foundations that buildings needed to be built from scratch, right? That was his thing. So doing those things, then again, different expressions of the purpose, building things from scratch, allowed him to then take care of his highest core value, which is his family. Right? Beautiful. So when and I always get all my clients to do their top 5 values. And the reason is that you need them to know and stay focused within your purpose. And you have to make sure that your purpose, however you express it, flows back into those core values and supports them. And that those core values then support your purpose. And again, this all supports your resilience.
Mm, It all works in together. I think the key is to actually take the time, just time out to work
Mm,
through that process that you talk about with core
yeah,
values. And we might sort of think we know, but until we actually sit down and work through it all, it's, to me, it's not clear, or you're not actually living it. You need to be able to see it written down. And
mm,
as you say, it all builds on each other. And you've got that lovely flow. And that's a lovely story about your dad, and a great example of where you were saying that, you've got that underlying purpose there. And his was to build things from scratch, build the foundations in his garden, his work, his family, and all for his main core value, which was for his family, which is lovely.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So when you find that and you can connect those dots, it again, because the foundation of what I do is really about helping people put their resilience into practice, not just about a list of, good traits to have to show that you're resilient, but actually put your resilience into practice, and knowing those core 5 values is really, really important.
So, with core values, I mean, most of us know what they are, but some people may not. So, what would you define as core values?
Look, there's lots of values that you
Yeah.
can have in your life, but the core ones are the ones where you go, if I don't have this, I will not have all of this in my life. That my life just doesn't work
Mm.
without these things,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So having those core values, whether it's respect, you will get major physical responses in your body when your core values are not being met.
Yes, and I suppose that's a little bit like gut instinct, isn't it? Because if you're
Yes,
going against your core values, you're doing something and you're not really comfortable with what you're doing because it's going against what you hold
yeah,
true to yourself. For you, it goes
absolutely.
against your authenticity as a person.
Hmm.
Um, and some people try to push through that, and that's probably why we don't always succeed in what we're doing, because we're going in the wrong direction. We're pushing against what we really believe in because we think we should be doing it. We should be
Yeah,
going this way for a certain reason, but it's not based on what you actually believe in. And I think that
no,
the believing in what you're doing is so important, because if you don't
absolutely.
believe in it, you're not going to be successful at it.
And you'll know, because if it is sometimes we think we have a core value, and it isn't. It's something that we were taught as a core value, but it's not ours. It doesn't belong to us. I found myself getting very upset if anything was late and not on time. And, for some people, timeliness really is a core value. It's something that's really important to them.
Mm.
And I found myself doing it. And then one day I realized that was something that was really important to my mother, but not so important to me. I still like to be on time, and I still think it's a respectful thing to do and all the rest of it. But I realized that I was causing issues in my family because of my obsession with being on time, because it had been taught to me. So that was not my core value. I
No.
thought it was, but it wasn't. So when you really go into your core values, you really got to go, is this mine? Do I get upset while I'm trying to achieve this core value? If you are, it may not belong to you.
That's right. Exactly. That's a good point, actually, because there's lots of traits that are taught to us when we're growing up, or different experiences in life, and we sort of take them on. But perhaps I don't really feel that comfortable, but we think, oh, well, no, that's what I really believe in. But it's not.
Yes.
It's what you've been taught or how you've been brought up that
Mhm.
perhaps. So that's a good exercise to do.
It's
Um,
very liberating when you get there too, when you
yeah.
start not doing or not focusing on the things that are really intrinsically not yours,
Mm.
but you start focusing on things that are.
Yeah, well, when you were talking then about your example, and that you realised that, it was something that your mum had as a core value and wasn't necessarily your own, I thought that relief you must have felt in just letting go, and,
Absolutely.
that sigh of, oh, oh, you know. I can let that go and feel free. So yes, it is very liberating, and probably an exercise we all should do after listening to you today. So your fourth benefit is around diversifying your income.
Yes, and aren't in our modern times really pushing us towards this in a way that we never have before. And it's really interesting when you start thinking about diversifying your income. We've been told we shouldn't have our eggs all in one basket, but we kind of have always and traditionally, other than, buying a house or maybe an investment properly as an idea of diversifying, there really hasn't been a lot of talk about any other way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So if you are to diversify your income, how do you do that? Again, this is where your purpose is really important, because if you have your purpose at the heart of what you're doing, when you diversify in a different expression of that purpose.
Right. Yeah.
And it might fulfill another part of yourself. So I'll give you an example. I recently diversified because I keep talking about it. I thought I'd better walk my talk. So as I said before, my purpose is to help people with their potential, meet their potential and understand their possible potential. And I had a little bit of a conversation with my sister, and she's a marketing expert, and she loves the way I do my graphics and online and that. And she said, let's do something together. And I went, okay. So now we're helping businesses realize their potential. So I've got two businesses now that I'm running, and they really complement each other. I am a little bit busier than I have been in the past, but I know it's just while I find my rhythm and while I find how it all works together, and I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. Just going, yep, I'm flowing in here today and I'm flowing in there today, and yep, I've got that deadline today. Well, that can work, and that can be put to the side a little bit, and just going with it. But the idea is to create a diverse income so that when things happen, you've got more places to pivot in. You've got more ability to move with your income, and to create also passive income. Find courses, find out different ways you can create passive income into your life as well. And if doing that through something that is based on your purpose, well, there's so much more pleasure in it, isn't there?
Yes, yeah. And it's also, I was only talking last week with one of my guests, and we were talking about the fact that there's quite a number of women over 50 who are becoming entrepreneurs and starting their own businesses, and it's really exciting to see that they're trying to make their dreams a reality, and they're being successful with that. So it's never too late to diversify. If you don't want to start your own business, I suppose you could study in a different area. There's so many options online these days. But to start your own business as well can be a bit overwhelming, but it can be exciting. And as you say, if you keep it in line with your purpose, then you're going to find joy, and you're going to find that motivation, and you don't mind putting the time into your new venture because it's something that you really love and you really want to do.
And women historically have created their businesses in the nooks and crannies of life. And one of the benefits of
like that little expression,
we have.
Nooks and crannies of life.
The nooks and crannies of life. And especially if you're in your midlife, in your 50s, and you're your children might be older, you've got more time in a different way, to start to really explore the possibilities. And there's lots of options out there now. There's so many multi-level marketing opportunities, and it's really about finding that product that aligns with your purpose, that you really believe in, that you connect with really strongly. It's not an easy industry to get into, but if you do find your way through it, it can be amazing. And I know that I know lots of people who've done really well in that industry. and then they've layered it into other things as well. And you can create multiple products around one thing.
Yes.
Again, but all of it is about aligning with your purpose, because if it's not aligned with your purpose, you will soon lose the drive for it.
Yes.
It can't be just about the money.
No.
Like, no.
And that's so true. Because you can be just working away and hating every day and just doing it for the money. And okay, some people have to, I suppose, but really there's no joy then in your life, is there? And you spend so much time working. It's so much easier if you're doing something that you love, something that you enjoy. So I can see how connecting with your life purpose can help you diversify, because if you're building on that foundation, you know what your purpose is. There's so many opportunities that you could develop from that. So that's a good point, one that I wouldn't have thought of. Now, the fifth benefit you talk about is essential to living a long and happy life.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think we've touched on it before in the sense of the traditional retirement model. It was really based on a model which was we're born, and then we learn, we earn, then we rest, and then we die.
Yeah.
And the thing is that rest period was created when people were at a time where people lived a lot less than what we do now. When retirement as a model came in, people lived up to about 65, and the retirement age was 65. So you weren't meant to live long after you retired.
No.
But now it doesn't work now when you're living an extra 25 years. Also, the current retirement model puts a use by date on our skills, on our talents, on our strengths, on our career, on our passion. So it's not uncommon to, especially with men, to hear he retired and 6 months later he died.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard that? And it's
Yes.
like, oh, that's so sad. So it's because they've lost that sense of where they fit in the world. Whereas if you have your purpose, you never lose that sense of where you fit in the world. And you always know that you have something to contribute. So yes, it's fantastic to be a great grey nomad, but there's only so long you can do it if it is not part of your core beliefs and your purpose.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. I mean, I often talk to my husband and we say, well, we can't travel all the time. And that's something that we enjoy doing. But the thing is, we are living longer. And even if you retire at 65, it's still, what, as you say, perhaps another 20 or 30 years if you're lucky enough, that you can be productive in. And I know with my mother-in-law, she's 94, she's in aged care. But I think for about 20 years, they were retired, they didn't do anything, and her life was nothing, really. She was for the family, definitely, and that was her purpose. But moving into that aged care, she had a whole new world open up with activities. She goes to the gym. She's just taken up art. She goes to bingo. She goes to all these activities, and she's really blossomed in her 90s. So it's never too late to start something.
No.
And it's never too late to, we shouldn't feel that we should be defined by an age. Oh, I'm 90, so I can't do that. Yes, of course, there might be health reasons or things like that. But generally, if you have your fitness and your general health is good, there's no reason you shouldn't be still doing things that you did 20 years before. So,
and if your body starts to change and you can't move the way you did before, it's not about losing your purpose. It's about finding different ways to express it again. It's another transition process.
Yes.
It goes back to that transition process. So, let's reinvent the whole idea. Or I've heard the terms reinvent, reimagine, rethink. Some people have said, let's retire retirement. it's not about all that. It's about you living a life that you're happy to live, and it doesn't matter what age you are. So your purpose definitely, and all the research says it too. You know, all of the research. There's some research out of the US where they lifelong generational research of these. It started off as men, as it did back then. It's over 80 years of old research now. They were boys, and it's followed them all the way. Some have died now, some are still alive, and they're quite elderly. They're following their children, their grandchildren now. It's really long generational project. What they found is the ones who were the healthiest had a sense of purpose. Oh, and they also engaged in new friendships after they retired.
Well, yes, and that can be something that people don't actually understand. Sometimes I've heard it before saying, oh, well, it's very difficult to make new friends once you've retired, with people have got their lifelong friends. But it's not really. It's just connecting with new people, doing new things, and you will find that you do develop relationships. But staying connected is so very important. And again, coming back to your purpose and your core values, if you make sure you are aligning your relationships with those, then that's going to just enrich your life even further.
Absolutely, absolutely. So they're the 5 benefits of connecting with your life purpose. There are, of course, more, but they're the top 5 that I thought of the other day, and I just went, yep, they're the ones I'm sharing with all these amazing ladies who are watching. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, well, that's great. And so I'll just go over them. It's the 5 benefits of connecting with your life purpose is it makes you more resilient. You have a lifetime focus and direction and expression. It works best when it's linked to your core values. It helps you to diversify your income, and it's essential to living a long and happy life. So that's great. We can all do that exercise, I think, and to really come back to what our basic foundational purpose is. Now, before we finish, I did want to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests.
Okay.
So what does being a woman living well mean to you?
Well, obviously, we're engaged with our purpose, first and foremost.
Number one.
Number one. No, a woman living well to me is a woman who is open constantly to evolving and changing and growing as a person, and knowing that who she is today doesn't necessarily have to define who she is tomorrow.
I love
think
that.
Yeah, and I think that we're constantly have an opportunity to redefine ourselves, and I think that that's a good thing. Being static in life can sometimes make you feel stuck, and if you open yourself up and connect with the joys in your life and the things that put a smile on your face. And I did a post about this the other day, and I think you put in the group, allow yourself to about life, be in awe about life, and find the joy and the gratitude, you can live really, really well.
Yeah.
And if there is something that you're stuck on, and this is one for me too, and I'm constantly doing this, if there's stuff that I want to change, I take steps to change it.
Yeah, it's in our power, because we do have control. We just have to be brave enough to make the changes that we need to if we're not happy with something in our life.
Absolutely.
So I love your definition. And look, it's been wonderful having you with us today, Maria, and it's so lovely that you're going to be a regular panelist in the conversations. I'm looking forward to discussing more with you. And if for the people who are listening and watching today, if you'd like to know more about life purpose or more about the services that Maria offers, you can find her at the Midlife Counsellor. She has a Facebook group as well, but I'll be putting all of those links into the comments below that you can connect with her. And if you've enjoyed this episode today, please feel free to share it with a friend who may benefit from listening to the topic that we've discussed. Leave me a comment, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. And until the next episode, make sure that you embrace life every day and enjoy life. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.